Decide to build your character through good actions. The challenges that arise will show their strong points. Stay firm, and one day you will build something lasting, worthy of your potential. Epictetus. In Stoicism, actions are more valued than words, reflecting the importance of how we act in life to face adversities and events, remaining firm. Stoics value each action, and that's why in this video we will explore the teachings of an eminent philosopher named Epictetus. The life of Epictetus. Epictetus was one of the three great Stoic philosophers we have as a reference to this day, along with Seneca and Emperor Marcus Aurelius. He was born as a slave around 55 AD in Hierapolis, present-day Turkey, and possibly died in 135 AD in Nicopolis. During his childhood and youth, he lived surrounded by violence and deprivation, characteristics undeniable of the kingdom of Nero. His master subjected him to torture and so much cruelty that left him with irreversible consequences, including a limp leg, a burden that he would carry for a lifetime. And thanks to his stoic attitude, he never considered his deficiency as an impediment and refused to see his life as a tragedy. People have no power to hurt you, even if someone verbally or physically attacks you, even if it is insulted. You can choose to face what is happening as an insult or not. If someone irritates you, the only thing able to irritate you is your own reaction. So when someone is provoking you, remember that it is only your assessment of the incident that causes this feeling. Do not let your emotions be triggered by mere appearance. Try not to react at the moment. Try to have a broader view of it. Step away from the situation. Reconcile. Epictetus. He did not complain or curse himself. On the contrary, he acted with discipline and constancy, remaining firm and facing all the events and adversities of life. Epictetus demonstrated that freedom comes from the mind and that this is under our control. Still young, Epictetus went to Rome and became the servant of Epaphroditus, who was the secretary of Nero. Realizing his potential, Epaphroditus encouraged Epictetus to learn from the Stoic master, Caius Musonius Rufus, and thanks to this Stoic education, he was able to overcome extremely challenging situations and overcome the tendencies of self-victimization of his mind. When he finally stopped being a slave and was freed, Epictetus was forced to leave Rome and go to exile, like many philosophers of his time. After that, he established his own school in Nicopolis, where he became an egalitarian teacher. Epictetus believed that the main goal of Stoic philosophy was to help people face daily challenges positively and deal with the inevitable great losses and disappointments of life. Therefore, he was the master of people of all social classes, of plebeians, politicians, patricians, and even emperors. Epictetus's teachings inspired Marcus Aurelius, the future emperor of Rome. One of Marcus Aurelius's tutors studied directly with Epictetus and gave the emperor the notes he himself made during the classes. Marcus Aurelius, upon reading these notes, saw in Epictetus a wise man and recognized the moral doctrine of Stoicism as to be followed. Although Epictetus had not left written records, his disciple Flavius Arrianus rescued and synthesized the most important and necessary things from his words, editing his lessons in Epictetus's manual and the diatribes or discourses. Epictetus's manual is an ethical and practical guide, whose lessons have a single goal: to achieve true happiness called eudaimonia. This happiness is achieved when we dive into the understanding of nature through the study of its laws. We cultivate our reason to know ourselves deeply, and above all, we build a solid moral character and live a life based on ethics. To achieve this goal, it is necessary to act virtuously and master our vices and impulses. Now imagine yourself being part of Epictetus's school, being a dedicated student. The first lesson. The central foundation of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control. Understanding and practicing this clearly is what will guide all your thinking. Some things are under our control while others are not. In our control are our opinions, preferences, desires, the things that cause us repulsion or displease us. That is, everything that is related to our actions. In addition to our control are things like the type of body we have, if we are born rich or poor, the way we are seen by others, that is, external things that do not depend on us. Trying to control or change what we cannot only results in disappointments and frustrations. And if you think you have total control over things that are naturally out of your control, or if you try to assume the questions of others as if they were yours, your search will be distorted and, as a consequence, you will be irritated and lament, blaming both God, life, and others. Epictetus. This authority over ourselves is difficult to practice, requires control and self-discipline. First, we must know how to differentiate what is in our control and what is out of our control. When we take responsibility for what depends on us and accept what is beyond our control, without lamenting or victimizing ourselves, we progress morally. But when we waste our time in criticism or in refuting the actions of other people, we undermine our energy, and this only causes us disappointments and frustrations. The example of a relationship in which you expect your wife or husband to change their rude way of living or to be more initiative in terms of financial gains. Although you pressure or even demand these changes, you do not control the action of another person, even if they are close to you. The same is valid at work. Imagine that you are the leader of a team and one of the members is not as committed to the project as the others. Arriving late at meetings, not respecting the deadlines for delivery of stages, and not presenting plausible opinions. Although you can guide him, you cannot control your action and define your interest in the project. But in both cases, if you contradict this truth and define that you can have control over what does not depend on you, this will not bring you positive results. Practicing control dichotomy is the discernment to learn to distinguish what you control or not, and have discipline to take responsibility for the actions you control and self-control, to accept what you do not control. The second lesson, train your self-control, something that Epictetus taught all his students. Epictetus claimed that if we allow frustrations and anxieties to dominate us, we become prisoners of these disturbing emotions, and as a result, our life turns into a path of anguish and suffering. We need to train ourselves not to react impulsively and keep our serenity and tranquility in the face of unexpected and unfavorable events. Start with small things. If you spilled a little oil or stole a little wine, then you must tell yourself to act calmly in the face of these everyday situations is the cost to pay to obtain inner peace. Nothing is free in this life. Epictetus. There is a space, an interval between a stimulus and an answer, and the key to a peaceful life is to know how to use this interval. This is a simple but powerful idea when practiced daily and progressively, as Epictetus teaches us. For example, you are stuck in traffic, late for a commitment, and the traffic light closes just when it's your turn to pass. The driver behind you can't brake in time and collides with the back of your car. As unpleasant as the situation is, you don't need to react with anger or aggressiveness for your damaged vehicle and the possibility of losing the commitment. There is an interval between the stimulus and the answer, which represents your freedom of choice in the way you react to this situation. The traffic light, and the driver who collided with you are external events that you cannot control. However, the way you respond to this situation is entirely under your control. This also applies to deeper issues, such as the fundamental tendencies of your personality. Our behavior results from conscious decisions and not from external conditions. We have the ability to align our feelings with our values. We have the initiative and responsibility necessary to shape our destiny. Think of the word responsibility, the ability to choose your answer. Highly proactive people embrace responsibility and do not blame circumstances, conditions, or conditions for their behavior. Your behavior is a product of conscious choices based on values, not on conditions guided by emotions. You have the freedom to choose, regardless of the stimulus, your answer may arise. You have freedom of choice. Regardless of the stimulus, you have control of the answer. What matters is not what happens, but how you react. The third lesson. Before we continue, I'd like to extend an invitation for you to subscribe to our channel. If this content strengthens you and brings you insights in any way, I'd like to ask for this small gesture so that we can bring this type of content to more people. If possible, please leave your like and comment, as this helps the YouTube algorithm understand that this content is relevant. Thank you. Next lesson is about continuous self-assessment. Before taking any action, we have to be rational. We must look inside ourselves and examine ourselves with a critical eye, not to belittle ourselves, but to know what our skills, resources, and weaknesses are, and make a coherent decision. Imagine that you signed up to participate in the next race in your city. Your desire is to surpass yourself, demonstrating that you can conquer the 20 miles challenge. However, there are only 2 months left for the event, and you do not have a specific training plan. In addition, you have never taken part in this type of race and, as you never did before, you have not formed a support team to assist you during the race. Despite your confident and positive attitude, it is likely that you will give up before concluding the race or even seriously injure yourself. What Epictetus teaches us is that before you set out to do something, it is essential to perform a rational assessment, looking impartially at yourself. This exercise is not intended to reduce your self-esteem, but rather to identify both your weaknesses and your strengths. In this way, we avoid neglecting our areas of fragility, and we also do not exaggerate in valuing our strengths. It is the key to a balanced and successful growth in our goals. In the case of the race, a rational approach would have been to recognize that, given your history of inexperience in races, it would be necessary to dedicate yourself to a specific training, create an action plan, and reserve some time to plan your participation. This would significantly increase your chances of winning. Frequently in life, we make important decisions, such as entering a society, starting relationships or friendships, without self-assessing ourselves in the face of the situation. This often ends in unsatisfactory results and, even worse, by total negligence of our part. Faced with each event, remember to look inside and ask yourself what resources you have to face it. Be honest with yourself, clearly assess your strengths and weaknesses. Do you have what it takes to succeed? If, in your opinion, you are acting correctly, have nothing to fear. Adopt a firm posture, act with total determination, do not be cowardly and evasive. Epictetus. The fourth lesson. In life, you must behave as if you were at a banquet. If they offer you something, reach out and take a moderate portion. Epictetus, with a simple metaphor, the Stoic philosopher teaches us about moderation. Moderation or temperance is one of the 4 virtues of Stoicism. Wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. To have temperance is to apply moderation to desires. It is harmony and good discipline in relation to pleasures, pains, and needs. That is, do not let us be enslaved by our desires or make some of our needs our owners. Learning to keep a healthy distance from our desires does not mean not feeling anything else, denying or trying to eliminate what we feel. Denying or pretending that the feeling does not exist is totally harmful to our mental health and balance. In Stoicism, we learn to practice moderation. Imagine that you received an unexpected bonus in your work. Instead of spending all this money immediately on impulsive purchases or luxuries, you apply temperance. You decide to save a part for your emergency reserve, pay some debts if you have pending debts, plan a more conscious budget, reserve a value for fun and also for your financial education. Instead of spending impulsively and accumulating debts, someone who practices temperance controls their financial expenses, adhering to a budget and making purchases consciously. By applying temperance to your financial life, a person can organize better, find the balance between their expenses, and ensure that the use of money is aligned with their long-term values and goals. The fifth lesson. It is impossible for a person to start learning what she already thinks know. Epictetus. Among all the Stoics, Epictetus stands out as a genuine master. He had his school and welcomed students, but one of the sources of frustration for Epictetus was the attitude of some students. Although they claimed to want to learn, many believed they already knew everything. Maybe you know someone like that, but all of us to some extent, we all think we already know everything, and we would all learn more if we left that attitude aside. No matter how smart or successful we may be, there will always be someone more wise, more talented, and more experienced than us. When we close ourselves in arrogance and vanity, we let learning opportunities and growth pass by us without even realizing it. Think about the last movie you watched, the last book, or this video, and list 2 things you learned in each of them. You will not only realize what you can learn from things in your daily life, but you will also train your vision to learn at every opportunity. Today, knowledge is in our hands, but if we keep a posture of already knowing everything, we will end up chained in our own ignorance. The sixth lesson is the lesson that your life must be guided by a set of principles. You need clear and rational rules with which to play the game of life. Whatever moral rules you have established for yourself, you must respect them as if they were laws, as if you were committing a sacrilege by violating any of them. Epictetus. Principles are moral rules and behavior that serve as a compass to guide your steps and create order in your life. Having well-defined principles helps us to maintain coherence in our lives and act according to our fundamental values. They are like alicerces that support our personal ethics, guide our behavior and decision-making. Without order, principles, and routines, your life tends to chaos and becomes the opposite of virtue. To define your principles, it is necessary a process of reflection and self-examination. You can start by identifying which values are truly important to you, such as honesty, compassion, justice, gratitude, among others. Then, put these values in practical rules that will guide your behavior in many situations. It is crucial that these principles are clear and specific so that they can be applied in a consistent way. In addition, be aware that disrespecting these principles is a serious act that goes against your deepest values. Assuming this mentality is essential to ensure that your principles play a significant role in your life and become a solid compass for your behavior. The seventh lesson. It is entirely impossible to unite happiness to a desire for what we do not have. Happiness has everything it wants, and like the well-fed, should not be hungry or thirsty. Epictetus. One of the greatest enemies of happiness is conditional happiness. When we say, I will be happy when, for example, I will be happy when I have my car, I will be happy when I am promoted or when I lose weight, when I have money left over, when I have a relationship. This type of thinking is called conditional happiness because it is similar to walking in the endless desert. You can walk kilometers and kilometers and never reach the destination, or even get closer, anticipate a future event out of anxiety. Imagine something you want in a passionate way and yearn for some happy situation. No matter how pleasant these activities may seem, they destroy your chance to find happiness here and now. Locate this yearning for the best and see it as it is the enemy of your contentment. It is necessary to choose between yearning and happiness. As Epictetus says, the two are not compatible. The eighth lesson. First, tell yourself what kind of person you want to be, then do what you have to do. Epictetus. It is very unlikely that an archer hits a target he has never aimed. The same applies to you. Whatever your target, whatever your dream, you will certainly miss the target if you don't get up, aim, and shoot. Our perceptions and principles guide us in the direction of what we want, but it is our actions that determine whether we will get there or not. So yes, spend some time asking yourself, who exactly do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? What are your personal ideals? Who do you admire? What are the special characteristics of these people that you also want to have? Think about what is important for you. What are your priorities? Work for it and leave all other things. It's time to stop being vague and imprecise. It is not enough to wish and hope. It is necessary to act and act correctly. If you've made it this far, it's because knowledge is important to you, and you're a winner. Leave in the comments, get stronger. Thanks for watching and have a great day.